Neonic Void Productions presents.
Hi, welcome to Spookocalypse. I am one of your hosts, Zio, and today I'm joined with the peeps. You know them, you love them, but you've been housekeeper. Hi, how are you?
We are made of marshmallow.
Made of my. Oh,
I'm
Lord.
delicious.
And most certainly not nutritious.
Marshmallows are definitely not nutritious.
They could be if you believe. They're good for the soul. I have no soul. Fucking
Yeah, of
SpongeBob
course you
memes.
wouldn't. You wouldn't though.
Wow, that's rude because I am a ginger. Laugh it up, laugh it
Anyway,
up. Anyway, ha. Housekeeping.
ugh,
Ugh.
fine. If you like this podcast, make sure you follow and rate us on whatever site you listen to your podcast. Share with your friends. New episodes get uploaded every Saturday. Links are when we can on Saturdays. Depends on our schedule, you know. Links are down. Life happens. Links are down in the description for other podcasts that are part of the Neonic family. Follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at Spookocalypse. That's at SPOOKOCALYPSE. We are also on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, hi, hello, welcome. Make sure that you try out any of our other shows that are on there. We have Book Watchers and we have House of Ideas, and soon enough, I don't know when they're going to be uploaded. If they are uploaded by now, then cool. Is Voidonica, which is our D&D podcast. Um, Make sure that you drop a like. Comment down below like what your favorite episode that we are covering was is today, or if you want to hear us talk about something else, any other spoopy stuff that we haven't covered already, or if you want us to revisit a topic, just let us know down in the comments. Make sure you tickle that little bell, um or punch it, whatever suits your fancy, float your boat, you know what I mean. We're gonna be doing some spooky shit, and Mints will be on the pillow.
Yeah, what flavor of mint are we going with this time?
Protein shake.
I have questions. Why exactly protein shake?
Because one of them is a fitness guru.
Ah, yes. Get built.
Mm-hmm. Or we can go with something else.
I think that
Geo,
works. Like either
do
that
you,
or the flavor of a gold bug.
a gold bug?
It's like one of the episodes called Gold Bug.
That's true.
But honestly, it's hard to pick. Sometimes it's hard to pick a flavor.
We
These
can
are
just go with
these are
the
the problems we have to deal with.
the problems of housekeeping. Choosing the flavor of mint today.
Oh my god, it's the cognac.
It's
The
cognac flavored.
cognac flavor.
It's Henny flavored. It's Henny flavored. Let's go. Not sponsored. Well, we're not sponsored by Hennessy, but I mean Hennessy. A. There's some good drinks that you can make with some Henny. Anyway. Damn.
I'm sure that's just a technical difficulty.
Oh. Zio left the chat. It's time to wreak havoc. Yeah, his mic probably got messed up. Oh, he lost the internet. Oh no! Well, it's okay
Oh
because the
no.
first 3 episodes we're covering anyway.
Yeah.
So, with this episode, we are covering the last half of the. Okay, he says it shouldn't take so long. We are covering the last 4 episodes of the Fall of the House of Usher. In our previous episode, we covered the first 4. And I think we're starting it off with you, Bunyip, right?
Yes, we'll be starting with episode 5, The Telltale Heart.
Do you have a link to?
Hang on. We kind of go off of a summary just to remind us what the episode was like, but we still have our own thoughts.
Right. I'm using. Okay, you're using that website. I was using the one from Netflix.
Okay.
Here, I'll give you the. Oh yeah, if you haven't listened to our previous episode of the Fall of the House of Usher, go give it a listen as well. And then the episode that was posted before this, I'm think he's posting it before this, but y'all talked about the stories that inspired it from Edgar Allan Poe, correct?
Yes, we talked about many of the short stories and the main poem, The Raven.
Got it, got it.
And this episode follows in line with some of the things that happen in the short story of the same name.
Accidentally posted in the wrong chat. Oopsie. I'm just gonna delete that. There we go. So episode 5.
All right, so it starts off. I think it starts off like in the past, where you see them. Can you hear that?
I
Oh
can't.
no! I'm
Your
sorry.
dog. He's still dreaming.
Yeah, but he also snores.
Oh, it's so cute.
Okay, I'm gonna try and talk through the sounds of my dog. So it shows our main characters back in the past with Roderick and Madeline, where it's where they first meet Verna on New Year's Eve in 1979, and it's going to 1980. And they look a little suspicious, like they're hiding from something, but you're not clear what.
They're a bit sus.
Yes. Hang on, I just need a little second to refresh memory. Oh yeah, one of the main points is Roderick spends a lot of time in the basement of a building looking at this brick wall. And it keeps hinting that there's something behind there, but you don't know what it is. But that comes into play in a later episode, so just keep that in mind.
Oh, speaking of, I found this video I gotta share with you. Shared it with Zio. Continue.
All right, so back also in the past, it cuts to earlier where Madeline is trying to sell Griswold, the owner of the Fortunato company, on the idea of changing things into a digital era, mainly like with his records, because they're trying to get records on the company so they can prove that the company's been up to no good, basically shady business. And Griswold, I guess he's kind of onto them, but he's really protective of his records because he knows that they can use that stuff against him. And Roderick and Madeline's main goal is to take over the company.
Well, yeah, because wasn't he supposed to be one of the leaders of the company anyway?
I think so.
It was supposed to go down to him, but it went to someone that was in the chain of command instead.
Yeah, and I think it's because the two are considered illegitimate children of the previous heir,
Yes.
so it just went to Griswold instead.
Yes.
And so Roderick, while he back in the present, he keeps talking to the wall, and he mentions vascular dementia, which is why he's having Vic try and make a heart machine to deal with this problem. And this condition causes him to have these horrifying visions, mainly of his dead children, and sometimes a person in a jester outfit. And the dead children, I think you mainly see that when he's in the house talking with Augie.
With the lawyer, right?
Yes. So every time, like every episode, you pretty much will see the remnants of one of his dead children. Like, oh, that person's gonna die next. So in this one, it's shown pretty early, like, oh, Vic is next in line. But how does she perish? And before we get into that, there's like a separate timeline with Tamerlane, who is the second oldest. She keeps insisting that her husband is cheating on her with Candy, which is the call girl from the fourth episode, although it's actually one of Verna's many disguises.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing with Tamerlane is like she imagines she hires someone to have a romantic dinner with her husband, and then she just watches and pleases herself.
Oh, she
But
also watches while they have their fun time.
yes, but mainly just like the how was your day at work? It was pretty rough, and it's like, oh god, yes. It's an unusual scene, but
It's
that's
very
part
funny.
of it's part of a plot line that shows up in a later episode. Let's see. Vic is at this point Vic is desperate to get her heart machine into human trials as quickly as possible. And there is a patient. I don't remember what her name is, but I think it's also one of Verna's disguises. And she basically like coerces her into signing something. Although Verna's like, I mean, the patient that Verna is pretending to be is like, I won't sign off on anything unless I talk with Dr. Morel, which is Vic's girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure what the relationship was, but they are at home.
Girlfriend and business partner.
True. So Vic and Morel are at home and they get into an argument over the ethics of what Vic is doing. And Morel is about to leave. And then Vic, in a blind rage, throws a little statue. Kind of looks like it was used as a bookend, but just throws it. And we don't see what happens yet.
They get into a big argument because, jeez, I'm sorry. I heard something like really loud in my headphones for a second. I don't know
Oh,
if that was you
I
or not.
think I accidentally pushed the button and coughed at the same time.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the fuck was that?
Sorry, I was like, Zio, please cut that odd sound out.
Yeah, well, because remember, like, you guys have heard like screaming from my end of the mic, right? So
Uh-huh.
I was thinking that that's what was happening, and I was just all like, "Look, listen, like I'm not supposed to hear it. They're supposed to hear it." Um,
Mhm.
side note, my boyfriend has heard that screaming, by the way. He's like, I thought like, well, he didn't hear screaming. He heard like sobbing, like as if like someone was trying to hold in, like they're crying. He said that like he heard that while he was like gaming one night because I fell asleep while watching him play video games, and we were on voice call. And I guess he hung up and he called me, and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, Yeah, I was sleeping. Why?" And he's just like, "I thought I heard you crying, like you were trying to hide you like you crying." And I was like, "No, it wasn't me." Was not me. Anyway, they were getting into a fight because her girlfriend found out that um she was she falsified documents and falsified test results to make it go forward into human trials. And like I think she forged signatures. Victorine forged Alessandra's signature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it says, from what I'm reading here, um Alessandra finds out about Victorine pushing the human trials for the heart mesh device by not just scheduling her for surgery but also forging Alessandra's signature on data reports. And the doctor's furious. They have um an argument in Victorine's house. Alessandra refuses to do the surgery, breaks up with Victorine, and calls the entire family, the Usher family, monsters, and says that she's not afraid of the NDAs and that she's going to the authorities to report fraud. And then as Alessandra's walking out the door, Victorine like hurls um a marble bookend, but like you don't know where she threw it at.
Which cuts us to the next day, where Vic feels guilty, and she's spending the next few days trying to contact Alessandra. Like she leaves all these voice messages and they go unresponded. And then she starts hearing things. It's an odd chirping sound. And it's mainly in her office and in her house. And when she's talking to like the main patient that she's going to do the human trial on, the patient doesn't hear any of it.
I heard ticking, not chirping. Like it sounded like ticking.
It sounded like both, almost like a tick or a chirp, and then a squishing sound.
Or oh yeah. I was mainly hearing the ticking.
But
And
yeah,
I was like, it sounds like a pacemaker.
it it does, and that gives us a hint as
Mm-hmm.
to where this is going. And then we have a brief cut to Frederick. Yeah, the oldest son, Frederick, who is like seeing that his wife has been burnt up from the events of episode 2. He has her confined to a bed, and he continuously gives her this powder that paralyzes her. So her recovery is pretty much stunted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's basically to show how much of a dirtbag Frederick is. But then we cut back, and Roderick drops by Vic's house, and he hears that there's like a lot of loud music. And then Vic's like, "Sorry, I had the music up because I just can't concentrate." And it was her way of trying to drown out the noise.
Mm-hmm.
Now Roderick can't hear this sound either, but Vic talks about the sound. And Roderick came over because he's like, "I want to see the progress on the heart mesh, the device that she's been working on."
Mm-hmm.
And then Vic catches a glimpse of Alessandra walking through the house and follows her. And then she arrives at the door where the scene of them two fighting has played out, and you see what happened. She hit Alessandra with the statuette, and it hits her really hard, and she falls to the floor, and it looks like she has a severe concussion. Like falls to the ground, her head's bleeding, she can't speak. And I believe Vic approaches the door and she's panicking, and then like her bodyguard's knocking like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And then Vic's just like, uh, "Go away, haven't you ever heard a woman getting eating out before?"
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It was like an odd line, like, "Go away, you perv, before I hire someone less cringe." Okay. But yes, here is our ultimate twist. Vic has decided to open up Alessandra's chest and implant the heart mesh to get her heart to beat again. And that heart mesh is the sound that she's been hearing all this time inside her mind and in the room where she has stored Alessandra's body. Yeah, Roderick opens the door to this office and finds Alessandra's body just bloody, dripping, and its chest cavity is opened. It's one of the most gory scenes in the entire series.
It's so like it was so jarring in my opinion. Like which is funny like compared to like all the other deaths that happen. Like for some reason because it I guess cuz it wasn't the family. Like it was so jarring to see, right?
Yeah, like a death that wasn't related to the Ushers.
Directly, you know.
Yeah.
And I love how he's just all like, "Oh, um good job, sweetheart. Um
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna give you the money. Like, let's get the fuck out of here."
Of course, Vic is horrified at what she's done and she stabs herself in her own heart, which
Oh,
just makes things even more traumatic for Roderick, who even contemplates like stabbing himself, but well, he doesn't. But that's pretty much it in terms of episode 5. Like we see things in the past, we see how events progressed, and we learn how they meet Verna, and we see Vic unintentionally kill her lover and business partner, and then try to desperately bring her back with a heart mesh.
And then the thing with Frederick and Tamerlane, right? Like,
Yes, Tamerlane suspecting of her husband of having an actual affair with Candy, and Frederick intentionally ruining his wife's recovery.
yeah.
And before we get to episode 6, I like to make the parallels of the Telltale Heart.
Yes.
Short story, as opposed to the episode. So Vic is pretty much going mad by hearing that strange sound all the time, and she tries to drown it out with music. But in the short story, it's similar to where he kills a man because of an evil eye that he thinks he has, and he
Yeah.
after the death, he keeps hearing a sound as well. And when some police officers go to visit his home, he's almost getting away with it, but the sound gets so loud to him that he's like, "Okay, fine. Here he is, the man I killed under the floorboards." Although that
yeah.
reveal is different than the show where Roger just
Yeah.
discovers the body. But yeah, main similarity is how the guilt destroys them.
Yeah.
Mhm. And that goes on to the next episode. Yay!
Oh yeah.
Episode
Episode 6.
6.
Honestly, I like I can't hate this death. Like I so, at the beginning of episode 6, which is titled Gold Bug, after Victorine's death, um the the family of Ushers are like it's near collapse. um we could tell that like that the end is coming, right? So
Yeah.
during present day, Roderick tells a bewildered like a very like he's not believing this Dupin all his story, like the story um that's being told to Roderick by his dead friend, by his dead children. And Dupin doesn't really believe it. um Roderick is describing how they're becoming more vivid, like you could see them more, that they're becoming more violent, they're becoming more active, and meanwhile, in the direct aftermath of Vic's death, Tamerlane is having her own hallucination. Um, she's dealing with a lot of insomnia, and of course, there's a little help from Verna. And they are making her go completely fucking insane. So that's basically what's happening in this episode. Um, upon finding Verna's file amongst Victorine's things, though, Pym um follows the address file and leads him. Oh, thank you. Leads him all the way to Roderick and Madeline's childhood home. The same place that Roderick is telling the story to Dupin. Pym and Madeline are positive that Verna is targeting at this point they are now like 100% sure that Verna is targeting the Usher family, and um and like and she wants to be found. Like she's laying out all these hints that like this is where to find me. Um And while Pym can't find anything about the bartender or even a bar near Fortunato, um, which like Roderick and Madeline did go into the New Year's Eve of 1979, he finds out that whenever he did a reverse image search online, um, he was finding photos of her with some of the most powerful people in the world going all the way back to like 1901. So we're talking like the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, Donald Trump, the Koch brothers, which if y'all are really really into what's it called? Conspiracy theories, which a lot of them aren't really conspiracy theories, but like the way like these big names kind of run society in the background, like the Rockefellers, like the Vanderbilts. Oh, Prescott Bush, like she's there, and she's in every picture. And Roderick's kind of in denial about it, seeing her in all these pictures. But Madeline is just like, "Do you remember? Do you remember what happened that night? Do you remember what she said?" Um, and then later, Madeline finds Roderick back down in the basement of the building, sitting in front of that brick wall, and he's just staring at it. And he tells her that like he hears bells, like little jingle jingle of bells, like from a jester hat. And she slaps him across the face and yells at him and says, "Shut your mouth and get your shit together." So whatever happened that night in 1979, what it means to the Usher twins, it unsettles them. It unsettles them a lot. Um, Also in this episode, you find out a little bit more about Pym. On how he like worked his way to the Transglobe Expedition 79. Um, it's an exploratory it's a mission that basically they traveled around the world, around the globe. And whenever Roderick tells the story, he says like Pym saw the world, he saw the good and the bad. That Pym is willing to talk about his adventures, but he never talks about Roderick has this idea that maybe he may have killed someone, or he ate someone, or maybe he killed and ate someone. We don't know. But he used to tell stories. I'm sorry if I'm clearing my throat a lot. He used to tell the Usher kids about it all the time. He said that like Pym discovered that the earth was hollow, and up at the North Pole was an island called Ultima Thule. which is quote the realm of beings who lived underneath us, out of time and out of space. Um, and it sounds kind of familiar, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So we go back to whenever everything's happening, not whenever Roderick's telling the story. And during this time, Roderick is starting to go into a breakdown physically and mentally. Um, he's still like extremely excited about the birthday gift that he's able to get for his sister. Um, he uses his quote unquote pocketbook and patience to pay off a whole bunch of people in order to have the sapphire eyes of Pharaoh. I can never pronounce his name. Uh, Torset, removed from the mummy and sent to his office. And quote, he goes, I reached through time and ripped out the eyes of a goddess. Now, while all this is happening, while this investigation on Verna is happening, and Roderick losing his mind and all this shit, Tamerlane's going fucking bonkers.
Yeah, she's
Um,
finally lost her damn mind.
yeah, her marbles are out and about. Her hallucinations and bouts of insanity are becoming more frequent. She's still not sleeping. And this is after like her husband like left, right? So like in the
Girl,
previous
take a nap.
yeah, like in the previous episode, like her husband was voicing how concerned he is about her health, and he's just like, we are, like, we're somebody that promotes health. How are you supposed to promote health if you're not even taking care of yourself? And they got into this huge argument. And she's basically like, you were just part of a business deal. I could find someone to replace you. Meanwhile, this man actually loved her. Like he was like he tried anything and everything to make her happy. Like the only reason why he agreed to the weird like fetish thing is because like if this is what's gonna make my wife happy, like it. But he's like, it fucking disgusts me. Like I hated it. And so he broke up with her, and that's what happened in the last episode. But in this episode, she's alone. She's still not sleeping, and there's a launch that she is released called, Goldbug. And it's a pretty big deal. It's a high priced a beauty subscription box. Um which like in her mind it's her moment, right? Like this is supposed to be like her big thing. um her her father's current wife, I can't remember what her name is. Madeline. No. What the heck is her name?
What the
Juno?
Juno? Yes, Juno.
the new
Yeah.
wife?
Yeah, the new wife, Juno.
Yeah,
Juno,
Juno.
yeah, Juno's there to try and like support her. She's like, like I just and again, like this girl's like probably younger than Tamerlane or Tammy. But she's still like, you know what? Like you're my husband's daughter. Like I want to try and support you.
I love Juno.
Dude,
She's
I
one of the best
love
things.
her. I love her. She's a queen.
Is a queen. She's just there wanting to trying to live her
She just wants
life and
a
make the best of
family.
it.
She really just wants a family. Like I
And she got
remember.
married into a bunch of crazies.
Well, she got married into this family. She saw how big it was, and she's like,
Yeah.
finally, a big family that I could be a part of. And then she just feels alienated. I remember that. I don't remember
Yeah.
what. I think she says it in this episode. Like she's just kind of heartbroken that like this family's broken,
Yeah.
and like she doesn't know how to like fix it, right? And like you could tell that like she really does care. And I'm all like, girl, I feel you. Per our conversation that me and Zio had earlier
Yeah.
today. It's like, girl, I feel you. I feel you. But anyway, and so during this launch, she starts Tammy starts or Tamerlane starts to see Verna dressed as her. Verna's there on stage giving Tamerlane's welcome address. She's sitting out in the crowd behind Juno. She's in photos where Tamerlane's supposed to be in the slideshow. And while she's doing like this presentation, a sex tape pops up
Oh,
on the screens. Um and Verna is in the sex tape that's playing on screen. And of course, Tamerlane reacts to everything that no one else is seeing, and she looks fucking crazy. She looks like a maniac. And poor Juno, this woman, she's sitting in the
mhm.
front row,
Yeah.
and she's witnessing all this, and she thinks that her stepdaughter is like screaming at her. Right? She's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And she's like, "I'm just here to support you." Like, she's like, "What do you mean?" And like Tammy like takes Tamerlane takes the mic stand, smashes the screens behind her, and then she's like, "Get the fuck out! Get out!" And like she throws this mic stand and hurls it at Verna that's in the crowd, but it hits Juno in the head and it knocks her
Damn.
unconscious. And I'm all like, damn. Like, I feel
Damn.
so bad for this lady. Like, I want to give her a hug, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so Madeline, Tamerlane's aunt, is in attendance for the entire thing, and she's well aware of like who's responsible for everything, right? So she's searching the crowd, she's looking around, she can't find Verna anywhere. And in the chaos of the mic stand drama, she sees a familiar face across the room waiting for her. And as Madeline runs towards her, she reaches out to grab her, and poof, Verna's gone.
Oh,
Um, and eventually, Tamerlane makes it home from the Goldbug launch. And she's in one piece. But Verna's also there. She's there in every reflection of the house, and she taunts Tammy. Um, and like as she's taunting Tammy or Tammy Lane, however you want to refer to her as, I'm gonna say Tammy from now on. She picks up a fire poker, and wherever she like sees Verna, she's like like breaking him into mirror, like she's breaking the stuff. So she's breaking mirrors, she's breaking like any reflective surface that she can. I think she breaks like the TVs too. Like scattering them, sitting glass everywhere. She's stepping on them with her bare feet. They smash into her hands and her face. And Verna's just like, "You're only hurting yourself. Like, why don't you just, like, you need a rest?" Like, she's taunting her bad. And it seems like Tammy knows that she's hurting herself. And, um, like, you could see her starting to freak out more and more. And where it ends up to where she's in her bedroom, which is like literally covered in fucking mirrors. She smashes all the mirrors along the walls, and eventually she ends up seeing Verna on the mirror in the ceiling, which that's some kinky ass shit.
yeah.
That's some kinky ass shit. But also, as someone who's very spiritual, you're fucking dumb to have a mirror facing your fucking bed in the first place. Don't ever have a mirror facing your bed.
That's
Like,
dangerous. You're
well,
asking for glass to rain down.
yeah, like no, like I never have a mirror facing my bed ever. So, but I was like, you're dumb. Um, and so whenever she sees Verna in the mirror, she's on the bed and she jumps up, hits the mirror with the fire poker, and
Mm-mm.
as she lands on her bed, there's a giant shard that lands on her. Like she lands on a large shard that's on the bed, and then another one falls from the ceiling and lands right into her neck.
Yeah, the way she jumps off the bed causes the bounce to make the shard tilt in just the right place.
To
Yo.
stab her whenever she lands on
It
it.
almost looked like a Final Destination style of death.
It
Yeah.
really did. Man, way to bring back some freaking childhood trauma.
Oh God.
Like, no, that's not childhood trauma. That's generational trauma. And like
Yep.
this whole generation has trauma from those movies.
Number 2, especially. Oh,
Why do you like? We never drive behind trucks that have logs on the
logs.
back of
No.
them.
Mm-mm.
We never do. I've never been in a tanning booth because of that movie. I've never been in. I refuse to go in a tanning booth because of those movies. I do ride roller coasters still, but that's very rare and few and far in
Yeah.
between. But if I see a truck that's hauling some shit that's on the back of an open bed, you best believe I'm fucking speeding past that, especially if they're like poles or logs.
Yeah, nah, we don't. Nah,
It's
I'm around
scary.
with that.
Anyway, but yeah, it did seem very Final Destination esque. It's very, very
Very
interesting.
that.
So, while all this is all happening, right? There's still Frederick, this piece of shit,
Mm-hmm.
and what he's doing to his wife.
Mm-mm.
So,
Burn him.
Lenore, their daughter, is like sitting next to her, visiting her, and she is like beside herself with joy whenever her mom starts speaking. And like she's so excited, she goes up to her dad and she tells Frederick, like, hey, like mom's talking. And he's like kind of like really out of character about it. He's like, oh, okay. He's very calm about it. He's in no rush. She's like, we got to call the doctors. We got to call the specialists. And he's just like, okay, we will.
Mm-mm.
But he doesn't.
But he
He most certainly does.
doesn't. He tells her to leave, and then whenever we see him go into Maury's room, which is the mom, and we discover that he has been drugging her to
Now, this is the mother that got severely burned
in the
uh,
acid.
in the acid from was it the second episode or the third
The
one?
first episode, it's the orgy.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
episode 2.
episode
Was
2.
it
It was
episode 2? I swear it was one.
no, it was 2 because 1 was the um hold on, let me look up the
The
episode name.
acid. The
It
acid.
was the massacre of the Red Death, episode 2. That
Okay.
was the first because the first episode no one died.
Oh, that's right. They're just setting the scenes.
Yeah.
They're
So
introducing you to the characters.
yeah, so it's episode 2, the masquerade of Red Death
Yeah,
of the
the
Red Death that happens. That's the same woman. She's the lone survivor of that event. But yeah, she's being tortured by her
yeah.
dead beat
So
looking husband.
what he's doing is he's getting this drug, which is it's basically it's the meth drug that Fortunato has been making, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
he's mixing it with saline and putting it into her IV,
Oh.
like directly into the tube that is in her IV. If you don't know, whenever you have an IV bag, there's the saline bag, and then sometimes there's like another bag that has like a large dose of medicine, and it gets administered slowly through this IV. But if they want to administer something quickly, like let's say like a small dose of morphine or something, they have a little tube that is connected to like the connecting tube, and you could get your syringe and put it directly into that tube so that you don't have to like switch out like the bags or anything like that. It's just a quick administer. It's watered down with your saline and it goes directly into your bloodstream. And so he's been mixing this drug and putting it into her system, um and it keeps her quiet and unable to move, but she's still very well aware. She can see and hear everything around her. Think of it as, oh gosh, I just watched a video about this. um there's a type of paralyzation that makes you like seem like you're not aware of things. I don't remember what it's called. I can't think of it at the moment.
Are you talking
Uh,
about the one where sometimes people that go under amnesia for surgeries are still aware of everything?
no, no, no. So, oh my gosh. So there was this video that I watched a while back of from this called her name is Rotten Mango. She also has a podcast. If you haven't listened to her, she's really really good. I love the stuff that she does. She does a lot of true crime stuff, and she did the one about this woman who basically melted into her couch. She had been sitting there for 12 years, and she explains that there is a type of rare medical condition. It's very very rare, and people don't really know about it, or and it's kind of hard to discover it until like you're deep into it, but you're basically paralyzed, right? You can't speak, you can't like move like at all, and it happens like it could happen immediately, like out of nowhere, but you're still very very much aware, like you could still hear everything, you're still processing everything. um I will send you the link of the episode that it explains because like she goes into more detail about it that I can't remember every detail of it. And hopefully the video or the link to the episode of her podcast is is linked as well, because like it's
Mhm.
very interesting. It explains it a little bit more than I can at the moment. But that's basically the same thing that's happening to her, but it's more, gosh, it's medicinally induced in this case. Um and while he's doing this, like, it keeps her quiet, she's unable to move, she can still hear and see everything, she could still feel everything. She's very very much aware, and he's torturing her. he's he tortures her, because he believes that she is a liar and a cheater, and she's basically his hostage. And that's where we end this episode. That's where the episode ends.
A couple of notes. So I forgot to mention about episode 5. Augie reveals that there was no informant.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, that's right, there is no informant, that he was just doing that.
Yeah.
Also, when I watched this episode and I read the short story The Gold Bug, I wasn't sure what the tie-ins were.
I think mostly it's just the bug as the symbol itself and the journey and um it's her desire for the treasure, aka the riches of a successful business. Because the whole thing with the gold bug that we went over during the Edgar Allan Poe stuff was like the whole idea was like look for treasure that dealt with this gold bug was like the key or the way to find it and shit. And
Hmm.
it's a weird one. It deals with trying to find treasure and riches. So I'm assuming that was the whole shtick for it.
But also, like, Tamerlane's husband, his name was Bill Wilson,
That is true too.
which is a
There's that
Mhm.
character
connection.
in the Goldbug story.
Yeah. There's a few references of like the characters and stuff, but outside that, that one was more loosely more used for the name. I
But
personally think
uh,
than
the
the
small tie-in was whenever what's his name? Fucking Roderick got got this got this treasure as a gift. Like he bought this
yes.
treasure as a gift. And then the fact that, this beauty brand is this beauty brand is named Goldbug. and the symbol of it looks like a scarab. Like if you look at the symbol of it, it looks like a scarab.
But I wanted more. I wanted more of a tie-in. Like this episode is kind of hard to talk about sometimes.
Yeah, I get that. Like there's not that big of a tie-in. There's like nods to it here and there, but
Yeah, again, this was more loosely, very loosely connected to the original story compared to some of the other ones that are more like direct ones.
like you could tell where the inspiration came from with the other
Yeah.
ones.
But to be fair, that story in general wasn't what I call creepy either. It wasn't like the others where there are more like there's like an eerie
Poe
vibe
just
to
doesn't
it.
do horror poems, y'all.
That's true. That's true. But the fact that they pulled from one that's not really
Horror.
that is interesting. But again, I think they chose that one more for the namesake and the symbol and the character name reference and a few other little ones, little things here and there, but nothing like, oh my god, that's it. I see where they pulled from. Yeah, that one's a little more difficult to do for the gold bug.
But on to episode 7.
On to 7.
Evan.
All right, so basically we're back at Roderick and Dupin having their little discussion late at night in a rickety old house.
Raggedy old house, yeah.
And Dupin, or Augie, is getting a little tired, like, you're dragging this story out for a long time. What is this all leading to? Although, let's see, we see symbolism with the clock that in the house that starts ticking, and then the pendulum is swinging because this episode is called "The Pit and the Pendulum." We see where this is going.
Oh, it's well deserved. It's a long time coming. You have a storm a coming.
Ooh.
But yeah, Roderick quickly sees Frederick's dying body, especially the bottom half that falls to the floor, as is caused by his vascular dementia.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's pretty much the thing that's been happening at the beginning or near the beginning of each of these episodes is, hey, here's the next person who's going to die. And here's a hint on how it happened.
Yeah.
So, what happened between Roderick and Augie in 1979?
Dun, dun, dun.
It was mainly like Augie's like, if you can get these records to pin Griswold for doing illegal stuff, I, as a lawyer, can get him. I can get him on legal charges. And he'll probably lose his company, and you guys could inherit it. But Roderick and Madeline don't do this.
Madeline had a different plan.
Yeah, they had their own ideas of what they're gonna do.
Convinced Roderick to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the same time, I think this is when Annabelle starts to leave because she doesn't really like what her husband's up to.
Yeah, no, she gets the fuck out.
Because Roderick's idea,
Usher of the house.
yeah,
the only good Usher is
and Lenore in the future.
And Lenore, best girl, best girl.
Best girl. She didn't deserve that.
So Roderick was never gonna turn against Fortunato. He was gonna be like, oh yeah, the signatures on these forms that we found that are forged, we're just gonna say that they're not forged. I absolutely signed them, and Fortunato is not guilty. And Augie's just like, really? I can't believe you did this. Like, damn.
Yeah. How could you have done this?
I think it's at this point Madeline visits their childhood home first before Roderick and Augie appear.
Mm.
Is this where she meets up with Pym, or does that happen later?
Well, because Pym finds the house, and I think Madeline goes to the house afterwards.
Oh, right, because Pym figures out where the house is. Verna shows up, and he has a tarp laid out for her, and he injects her with some kind of tranquilizer, and he just wraps her up, and then she just appears in the chair like, wow, that was pretty clever. He's like, what the hell?
Yeah. As you
I
can
thought that
now
was funny.
tell, you haven't quite can tell by now. Yeah, Verna's not human.
Verna is definitely not human.
Verna's a queen icon legend serving cunt every episode, but she is not human.
And she also has a discussion with Pym, mainly discussing his visit to, was it the North Pole?
Yes.
Yes, and it's implied that he did something terrible there, or at least he witnessed something terrible that he might have could have stopped. And he doesn't talk about it. And she makes a deal like, I can make it to where you can get away with that and no one will ever catch you. Like, you'll get to live without having to go to prison for like 20 years.
Oh,
And he doesn't take the deal.
Smart. Smart.
Yes. Which in the episode 8, you see how that plays out. But point is like, I'm going to offer you like the deal of a lifetime. And I don't know if he is aware of the payment, but basically he's like, no, I won't take the deal. All right, let's see. So back in 1979, Madeline and Roderick had entered a deal with Verna. And it's because of these deal that all these deaths are occurring.
mhm.
And basically the deal was, I can get you that company that you want or that thing that you want. Like they I can make sure that you are never caught by the law. You will have fortune. You will have power. You'll have everything you could possibly want. But I will collect when the time is right. And they both accept.
Mhm.
And let's see, I think when Madeline does show up, she also meets Verna and she's like, okay, I remember the deal that we made. I'd like to renegotiate. And Verna's like, no, 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 no.
We don't renegotiate.
Then Madeline breaks Verna's neck. But
She's a baddie,
that
but
does
it doesn't work.
nothing.
It does nothing. It tickles.
Let's see what happens next. Oh, yeah. Roderick is again in front of the brick wall in the basement of the company. Reminds me of the deal that they made in 1979. It's like, yeah, into the world together, out of the world together, or there's no deal. And they believe that there is a way out of this, and that's with Roderick's death. So Madeline hands over a twin bottle of Ligadone and is like, Roderick, take this. So he takes fistfuls of the pill, and Madeline's just like egging him on, like, you're saving us all. And he dies right in front of her. And it looks like he took his own life with the pills. But she attempts to ignore the sound of those jingling bells behind the brick wall. Unfortunately for her, Roderick comes back to life because Verna's like, I can't let you out that easy. So the pills didn't work.
Oh.
And back with Frederick in his nasty business, he has taped pictures from his and his wife's wedding all over the bedroom walls to fill her with guilt.
That's fucked.
Yeah, like to him, he's like, I'm delivering justice on my cheating wife because she goes to a party where sex happens even though she left. But the point is,
He's
even though
trying.
she's suffered enough, and he's like, no, I think you need more.
Yeah, no. I don't feel sorry for him.
Hang on, I'll be right back real quick.
Ooh.
Okay, my dog's being indecisive if he wants to stay in or go out.
Aw.
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, he's.
Cute
Oh,
He
doggo.
does the same shit.
I just want him to just sit still until the episode's over.
Yeah.
But yes, so he is authorized to have a building, like the condemned building where Prospero held his party. He's like, you got a demo crew that's gonna have the place completely destroyed. But he's like, let me make sure I have enough of my drugs in my pocket, and then I'm gonna go inside the building and just look around one last time, snort some coke, and then just fall to the ground paralyzed. Because he unwittingly put the paralytic drug in the cocaine that he brought with him.
Oof.
And then Verna shows up, I guess disguised as a construction worker in the building, and just takes a walkie-talkie and is like, yeah, go ahead and knock the building down. And they're like, are you sure you're in there? I was like, no, just do it. Okay.
Just do it.
And so they start knocking the building down. And then one of the ceiling girders falls, but not completely, and it's shaped similar to like a swinging axe. So that's our pendulum, and it just slowly comes closer to him while he just can't move.
Oh, I think it's so great because she's over there just laying there going,
I loved this death.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
It's so great. The actress that plays Verna, Mother, she's living. You can tell she's having so much fun on this show.
And it is a slow, but you're like, it. Usually it'd be like a horrific moment, like, oh my God, he's gonna escape. But no, you're just like, do it, do it, do it, do it.
Every time it swung by, I'm like, why won't you kill him yet?
And it slices through his gut over and over again.
Oh, it's so good.
It completely decapitates, severs his body. I don't know if decapitation refers to just any part or just the head, but point is, it severs his upper body from his lower body, and he's dead.
Oh yeah, he's dead. There's no doubt.
Is this also the episode where Lenore is able to get her mom out of the house and into like a real hospital, or is that later?
No, it's the same episode because
yeah, it's the same episode.
She discovers what her father's doing and like basically like fucking like kicks his ass out of the house and like calls like 911 and shit.
Yeah, and that's what leads him basically to the
building to find out the truth about everything. Because he's like, well, I have to find I want to find my wife's ring and blah blah
Yes.
blah.
And he's like, I'm gonna weld it to her finger.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's not okay.
But yeah, after his death, it's like, that's it. All of the Usher children are dead.
Well,
children.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely children. And the tie-ins with the short story is similar. Like the person who has to sit there and wait for a pendulum to slice him open, he's tied down. And in this situation, like you want him to escape, and he gets to. But in the series, you have a completely different reaction. You're like, go ahead, cut him up. He deserves it.
Yeah, he sure does. He sure does.
But yeah, that was episode 7. And this takes us to episode 8, the final in the series, The Fall of the House of Usher.
The final episode is titled The Raven. Bum, bum, bum. And if you have not, I don't think I said it last time, but if you have not quite figured out, Verna is not a nice person, nor a person at all. If you, not really a spoiler on the show, and I think I might have talked about this last week, but of course, Verna is raven with letters mixed around. Oh my god, she's a raven. She's something. She's a queen. She's an icon. She's my favorite character of this series. So, Fall of House of Usher, episode 8, The Raven. We have reached obviously the ending, the final episode of that series, and we finally get to see what happened on the night of New Year's Eve in 1979. What was the tea? What happened on that said day? Well, you find out in this episode what happened. So, buckle your seatbelts. I was kind of shook, and it explains a lot. So, in 1979, we jump back over to Griswold and makes Roderick his right-hand man after he saves his company at the said court hearing. Then we jump to New Year's Eve, where Madeline and Roderick serve Griswold. So remember last episode where Bunyip, or was there a Bunyip or Housekeeper, one of the two, that talked about how Madeline had another plan? Well, the plan was poison, kill him, or kill him away. So he's at the bar with them on New Year's Eve. They serve him poison. And from there, they lead him to the basement and they put him in his resting place. What's that resting place? You may be asking, dear viewer, if you have not watched the show. Well. Inside the wall. They put him inside the wall because the wall had did it have a hole in it, or they make the hole? Because I think it was already
it was
currently
already
being built.
open, but
It
looked like it
currently
was
being built.
being constructed.
It was being constructed, so they basically threw him in there, tied him up, threw him in there, and they slowly just put the bricks, and they kind of just sealed him in the wall. And the funny thing about this also answers another question, because during the show, there's been a jester going around, randomly popping up in places. And you may be wondering, why was that jester there? Because he popped up a couple times, like once or twice. You're like, what's that all about? Turns out Griswold was wearing a jester costume when he was left to die inside the wall by the twins. So they just sealed him up one by one, with one brick by brick, and he's cussing them out, and he's going through the stages. He's like, oh shit. He's like, fuck you, blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna fuck you. I'm gonna ruin your ass, blah, blah, blah. And then it turns into like, oh shit. Well, actually, it starts off as, oh, you're joking, you're kidding, huh? And then it turns into rage, and then it's like, well, shit, I'm fucked. So they leave him inside the basement wall to die, and they never found him, by the way. He's technically still in that wall. Or did they find him? I don't think they ever did. I think he's still technically in the wall.
He's still in the wall.
Yeah, he's still in the wall.
That's why Roderick keeps staring at it.
Yeah, and the wall, and you hear, that's why you hear the banging in the wall and shit. And of course, then they plan to frame him and have Roderick replace him on the board, taking over the company. Because he's not there to defend himself, so you could frame him. And then, of course, the siblings then spend time in Verna's bar to establish an alibi, and they make a deal with her for wealth and power. In exchange, though, the Usher bloodline will die right before they do. And then, of course, the siblings will die together.
The bloodline will die at the time that he is expected to die naturally.
Yeah. Right before they do, as in right when he dies naturally. Yeah. Now you may be asking, but wait, they have all died. No. All but one It's like, because they haven't killed the granddaughter yet.
And she goes, "What part of the entire bloodline did you not understand?"
Exactly. That's why Madeline never had kids. She never had kids for that purpose. But her brother, he's been around. And that's why he had the whole kids from different mothers, because he would sleep around. And so outside his own, he's had several others. Well, not several, there's by handful. But yeah, he's like the granddaughter. And that one was sad because Verna comes to Lenora and she's like, I am so sorry. And she was just basically like, in layman's terms, she was like, you're the one that doesn't deserve this. But no, your mother's going to be fine. Your mother's going to survive this. She's going to come out the other side.
Yeah, that
Better
was
than-
heartwarming. It's like she's going to be fine. She's going to make a foundation named after you, the Lenore Foundation.
Yeah.
And in like a year, she's going to save a few thousand. And then like 5 years from now, she'll be saving millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she goes like, and it's all because of the brave act that you did against your father. Like, because of you, you were able to save millions of people. Like, that's what
Yeah.
she said. She goes like, and you don't deserve this. And she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, dude, I loved how she treated this death.
She gave her Lenore a very
Yes.
peaceful death.
Very peaceful, painless.
God, that hurt my soul. Oh, I was like, no, not the granddaughter. But
And-
yeah, she unfortunately dies.
And the text messaging.
Yes, the text messaging. The text messaging is honestly it's what? It's Verna, right?
It's an AI that they
It's
created.
an AI.
It is.
Yes.
It was a bizarre mention in episode 2. They're like, AI is cool. Yes, it is. Almost like it's product placement. Or I don't know, just be like, AI is coming for us and it's gonna be great. We can make an exact replica of you. It exists in a computer. I was like, okay. And then it comes up in episode 8, and I believe it's an AI of Lenore texting her father the same word over and over again.
And let me look. What was that word before I say?
You don't know.
I can't remember. I know it had something to do with the fucking Raven. Nevermore?
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. I was like, right. Nevermore, 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 nevermore. And I'm like, oh, there it is. Yep, I see it. Nevermore. And I'm like, damn. Okay, get it. We love someone's a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe. I see you.
No, but I also love that he's just like, no, your granddaughter's not dead. Like, your granddaughter's not dead. Like, she's been texting you all night. He's like, no. This
Oh, no,
is an
she's
AI
dead.
that's supposed to, like, emulate what my granddaughter used to be. But
Yeah.
she's literally just been texting the same name. And I was just like,
La spook. La
Oh.
shook. Oh, I was shook. I was like, oh my God. Girl. Should be crazy. So from there, we jump back to Verna and Roderick. And Verna then had restrict oh my god. Instructed Roderick to call Duplin to confess. That's everything. Before doing all this, Roderick had invited his sister to the old house where he yeah, so the guy that's been sitting with him the whole time, I cannot think of his name right now. Drawing a blank. The friend that he's been confessing everything to this whole time.
Augie?
He's like, where's your
Yeah, he's called Augie Dupin.
Augie. Yeah, Dupin. Yeah, Augie. So Verna gets him to call Augie. Augie comes by, and that's where we are now. And he's like, wait, where's your sister? And you hear a noise from the door that leads to the basement. He's like, oh, she's down there. And he's like, what? So it turns out that he invited his sister to the house, and he, when Augie decided to get up and open the door, like, why aren't you gonna let her out? Turns out she's dead, and well, he killed her, and her eyes were replaced with the sapphires
Mm-hmm.
to give her a queenly send off. I'm like, damn, that's fucked.
He pretty much mummified her.
Yeah, yeah, but she still, but she was alive though. Well, she came back to life or whatever.
Yeah,
Scared the shit out of me.
and it mirrors the first episode where they bury their mom, but she comes back and then she
Yeah.
strangles their illegitimate dad, and Madeline strangles
Yes.
Roderick the same exact way.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that she had the same condition that her mother had. That she didn't necessarily die, but she came back and she strangles Roderick, obviously. And then the house decides to, I'm going to collapse in on itself. And then Duplin gets out like right at the last second when the house collapses in on itself. And that's the end of the family. I mean, there's no other
It's the literal fall of the House of Usher.
literal fall of the House of Usher where it all started. And all the main members of the Usher family are gone, are dead. The only ones that are survived that are last is the ones that are married in, which meaning the Lenora's mother and of course Juno. Juno inherits the company and she's like, nah, fuck it, dissolve it all. So she dissolves the shit out of it, and she creates a drug rehab foundation in its place. Which I'm like, get it, girl. And she wings off the drugs herself because she's an unintentional drug addict from the drug because of being married to the man.
And
I don't
being
know. I feel so bad for Juno.
yeah,
Because
and
he only loved her really well initially because of the fact that the way the drug interacted with her.
and that she had like the highest dosage out of anybody at 2,000 milligrams.
Yes.
And I think it's because she was in a car accident and it really messed her up, and she was given a lot of painkillers to help with that. And then
Yeah.
she's at such a high dose that it's like, oh, how do you get off this without suffering huge withdrawal symptoms? And it's like, you got to do it like 100 milligrams at a time, and it's still going to hurt.
Yeah. But she does. She wings herself off it. Takes a while. But then, of course, she dissolves the company, creates a drug rehab foundation. Pim is arrested. Dubin retires, rightfully so. He's just like, yeah, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And then we end the series with Verna leaves a token on each of the Usher's graves while reciting Poe's "Spirits of the Dead." I thought that was a great touch. She leaves a little token each of the graves of the House of Usher and recites that poem. And I was like, oh God, Verna, you are a queen. I love her. And that, well, let me make sure that's the end of it. There's nothing after that. And Dupin visits the graves of the 9 ushers, and he says goodbye to Roderick. And then a raven sits atop of the tombstones watching, and Verna visits each grave, leaves a coin for the House of Usher, for each usher, one trinket, a mask, a cell phone, a cat collar, a heart mesh device, a gold scarab, a bag of coke, a feather and a flower, and the sapphires, a drinking glass, and one last toast to the fallen. She does like one last toast to the Usher family. And that pretty much ends the show with the graves there, and then Vernon's toasting to the Usher family. I like how this thing is that did you figure out what Verna is an anagram for? Anagram of Raven, you guys. Verna is also Raven. Wow. Wow. We didn't guess that.
No, I did.
I mean, I did. I saw that. And I'm like, that Verna? I mean, I guess I like episode. Looking into the series, I guess I like episode 1, but because the Raven and Verna and the Raven and Verna and I mean the Raven. So yeah, I love this fucking show, y'all. Just saying. That's the end of the Fall of the House of Usher, and it's the last series that that Mike Flanagan is doing for Netflix. Now he's a free man to do more stuff with other studios. Mm-hmm. Rating system.
Oh, I was about to say, in case you missed it, and if you want to have your mind blown like Zio did last time, episode 8, Fortunato is the name of the company, but also in the story of the Castle of Amontillado, that's the name of the person who gets bricked up.
Yes.
And the wine that they give him is called Amontillado.
Yep.
And it pretty much echoes that short story.
Yep. It most certainly does.
And it's all done out of revenge.
Yeah, it sure is. God, I love this fucking show. Let's just get right into it. Ratings. I mean,
what was our system?
Ravens.
Oh, Ravens.
Yeah, we're gonna go with Ravens.
Just so many Ravens.
Go with my favorite freaking character in this show.
Okay. Are we just gonna go in order of the voice chat?
Sure.
Okay, Ben, then you're first.
Okay, it's getting a 5. It's getting, I guess, a flock of ravens. I'm not sure what a group of them is called. But
a murder.
No,
that's crows. That's crows.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, that's only crows.
Wait, group of ravens is called a unkindness.
Unkindness?
Literally, a group of ravens is called unkindness. Yes. But you can also refer to them as a rave, a conspiracy, treachery, and flock.
Can we just call
them a
conspiracy? I want to call them
conspiracy.
A conspiracy of ravens.
Conspiracy of ravens. Oh, I love that.
Well, I would talk a little bit about symbolism briefly. I won't get into too much detail, but it's basically like that's my dog. So, you know how America has an opioid epidemic, and Ligadone addresses this somewhat, pretty much. And then I believe Roderick says a line like, "Oh, what's a little bit of pain anyway? Why do people need painkillers so much?" And it's like, you knew that these were addictive, and you have no idea what kind of pain they were going through. Like Juno was in a car crash that put her in an immense amount of pain. You don't just like take an aspirin or like Tylenol for that. And you need something really strong to mitigate that pain.
Yeah.
There's also revenge as a theme, which is clearly seen throughout. Pretty much every episode has its themes, and we've already discussed them. But overall, it's mainly revenge and the opioid epidemic and
the corruption between big companies getting away with basically murder.
Yeah.
Because it happens worldwide.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, they're like biggest themes of symbolism were, as we just mentioned. And that's really all I have to say. It's a wonderful, amazing show. I can't think of anything quote unquote wrong with it or lacking or that holds it back. And I'd say episode 6 is maybe my least favorite, but that's maybe because I don't understand it as much as the others. And my favorite episode, that's a good question that I just posited for myself. I can save that. I'll say that until I hear y'all's discussions.
Okay. Next up for me
is you.
Yeah. 5 out of 5. No question about it. No doubt. No waiting. It's 5 out of fucking 5. I love this series more than I love Midnight's Midnight Mass, and I love fucking Midnight Mass. That shit was bullshit. But this show is his masterpiece. Honestly, it's like it's so fucking good. I'm gonna watch this show like every fucking year for Halloween. I'm gonna make that
Your yearly
into a
show.
tradition. Yeah, because this series and Midnight Mass are his two best of all the stuff he's done with Netflix. It's so fucking good. Maybe asking, what about Midnight Club? I don't really care about Midnight Club. It wasn't that great. And
Did you watch it?
I watched part of it. I just couldn't get into it. And he left it open for a season 2 because he wanted a season 2, but Netflix was like, no. So there's no point honestly, there's no point in me watching it because it needed a season 2 apparently, but I never got it. So I might go back and watch it eventually.
That's literally the only reason why I want to watch it. I got sucked into like the mystery of the house.
Yeah.
You know what? It's just gonna be a resounding 5 out of 5 for me too. So it's unanimous. We all agree that it is a fantastic show.
It is.
There's not really an episode that I dislike, or I like less than the other ones. Like I loved it so much, and like the fact that like I put it on while me and my boyfriend were literally playing Valheim, and like he loved it too. Like, and then we went and we watched Midnight Mass right after.
Oh,
Like we did. We watched it
so
back to
good.
back, 2 days straight. Like we watched the Fall of the House of Usher and Midnight Mass.
So
So,
good.
and because I was like, man, they do like religious horror so well. They did like it was so well done. But yeah, no, I loved it. Gosh, I mean, there were times where like I couldn't watch. So like, oh, like like whenever like he was pulling like whenever Frederick, was that his name? Frederick was pulling out his
Yeah.
wife's teeth, Maggie's teeth.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like
no.
I couldn't stand it, like the torture of it. Like, ugh. I will say that I do have a favorite scene, and it was whenever Verna was talking to um the granddaughter.
Yeah. Agreed.
Lenore.
Mhm.
Like that scene with Lenore, like honestly, that like it was so beautifully done, in my opinion. I think that like the character Verna handled it the only way that she was able to. And like I really do. I loved it. Like she showed her so much kindness, and like I was just like, oh. And then whenever like she placed like a rose and a raven feather on her headstone, I was like, ugh, like I cried a little bit. I was like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautifully done. So a grand total from all three of us is a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. Now for me, I didn't say my favorite episode or my least favorite. I mean, my least favorite, even then, it wasn't that bad of an episode. Was probably Goldbug because that one didn't really have much of a connection to the story. But again, that's if I was stretching, because Goldbug, even being the weakest episode, is still a good episode. Now my favorite, probably the Raven. Honestly, it was the cherry on top of it all, and yeah, because what sold me was Verna's regret and sorrow for killing Lenora. Ugh.
I'm gonna go with episode 3,
Three's a good one.
mainly because of the lemon speech. He was like, "Well, life gives you lemons." He's like, "No, no, you don't make lemonade." And he has like a whole spiel about how ruthless you have to be with business. And then it's like, only when you are the king and you've retired can you settle down and do something simple and make lemonade. And Augie is just in stunned disbelief.
But you know what's funny is that life didn't give us lemons.
We made lemons.
We made lemons. Humans
Lemons aren't
genetically
natural.
modified and
Yeah.
created lemons. So life never really did give us
That so fucks me
lemons.
up that lemons are genetically modified oranges and
Is it the
again,
same for limes?
So no, limes are natural, but what like for lemons, what they did was that they got a citron and a sour orange and like basically mated them, like cross like planted them and created lemons.
yeah. It's
Can't
fucking
say the same for limes. I think limes are always, but I can't be too sure.
True. They're just similar in taste. Well, not exactly. Like it's a different kind of sour.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. You got if you have time for this show, give it the time.
It's only 8 hours.
It's only 8 hours. It's a long movie, and you get to see a baddie that is Verna. I she will always be my favorite character, and I love the actress. She's so good. She's so good in horror. I love her. Anyway, yeah, go catch it on Netflix. Final thoughts.
Shit.
Shit.
Definitely read the short stories that tie in, or at least most of them,
Yes.
including the one titled The Fall of the House of Usher, because there are a little bit of tie-ins with it, especially the
Yeah.
final part of it.
Yeah, there are. There is. And it's not hard. You just gotta it's part of the experience to read and learn from the source material. Honestly, it's to enhance the series. It just enhances it because you actually can say, oh, I know that. So it just makes it a lot more fun for you listening.
Yeah, and it works both ways. Like if you read the stories first and then watch the series, like I see the parallels. But if you were like me and some of the stories I wasn't familiar with and I went and read them, I was like, I see the parallels.
Yeah. Yeah. So on that note, thank you all for listening to today's episode. Catch us next time as we talk about something else. Until then, bye.
Goodbye.